Hey everyone, I'm Randy Searles. I'm a book coach, developmental editor, ghostwriter, and I just set this Q&A up so we can answer any questions. So anybody out there have any questions, go ahead and send them in about writing, about publishing, about editing. Um, Dan's a little late, but that's fine. We'll start without him. I got some things I want to talk about memoirs because uh, I get a lot of clients that ask me to help them with their memoirs. There's a lot of different kind of memoirs. The ones I get most of the time are basically they're basically biographies. They're memoirs. Whoops, look, Dan, here comes Dan. Hey, Dan. Can't hear you though.
Okay,
Nope. Yeah, there you are.
perfect. Okay.
Sorry to introduce myself. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Dan.
Hey, it's Dan Pace here. Had another call, so apologies for being late. I am retired Green Beret, now a full-time author, and I working with Randy because we feel it's important to kind of reach out to military and former military authors, and then other military interested authors to kind of share some best and worst practices we've learned about, the writing business and how you get your thoughts out there, to encourage more people to put their own thoughts on paper and to start out there and get sharing ideas. So exciting project, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, and I didn't share anything about my former profession. I just said I was a ghostwriter and editor, but I'm also a former Green Beret and a Ranger, and I was in the Army for over 20 years, um, traveling around doing Army stuff.
Back when we were
Um,
young and did things that didn't hurt so much. Like, things were
yeah,
less physically uncomfortable. Yeah,
yeah, that resulted in my knee replacement.
it's good. Builds character, right?
I was just starting to talk about memoirs because I've had a lot of clients come to me about writing memoirs, but we can move that to the end. I want to hear about your Kickstarter because that's freaking awesome.
No, it's coming along. No, thanks. So it's my first Kickstarter. And I decided I just finished a kid's book. So I wrote a children's book called The Whale and the Kraken: A Tale of Unlikely Friendships. And I finished writing it. And the last couple of times I self-published, I've just launched directly onto Amazon. And I want to do something different. I've heard that Kickstarter is a good way to launch a book. I mean, you told me this. I've done some research into it, and it seems like it's a good way to be able to kind of offset some of the upfront costs and build a little bit of excitement while at the same time giving the customer good value, right? They get a discount on your book when they buy it. And honestly, it's been a lot of fun. So I went and did some research on how to put one together. I basically copied a lot of really successful ones. It's like, all right, how does their pledge model look? What do their tiers look like? I went into ChatGPT and asked some questions about how do you structure the cost for one of these things? Like, what do you really need to work in? And put all that together, and then launched it. And then I supported it with a little bit of Facebook advertising, and it funded. It's at 75%. It's just over the 75% mark, and it's been up for just a few days. So I think it's going well, and I feel pretty strongly that it's going to fund successfully, and that's kind of given me the impetus to go out and do some of the other stuff, right? So I've been working on the deluxe hardback version. I've been putting together a lot of this stuff that normally I'd have to kind of wait for because there's just cost up front. But now that you've got a market, like, well, now I know I have enough people to justify the deluxe version. So I'm going to go and put the deluxe version now. And then that's going to deliver those people the book, but it's also going to get enough shelf stock there that I can take those and use them for future delivery. So I've been very happy with it so far. I would still like to tweak it and make it better, but it's a learning process.
That's great. And so when you say like, "Hey, my goal is 2,000," if you get the 2,000, is your take home? Your take home's not 2,000 because you have to do the printing of the books and stuff. So do you think your take home's like 50% of that or what?
So yeah, roughly. So Kickstarter takes 5% straight up, just right off the top, right? So you lose 5% there. I'm probably going to spend a total of about $200 in advertising by the time it's done. So I would say there's another $200 gone to that. And then printing costs for a basic hardback are right at $8 a book. And then the deluxe edition is closer to $11 a book to print. And so whatever the total, number of orders is, take that. That's your base costs out of that. So let's say that's going to be If I sell 100 books, that's going to be $800. If I sell 100 books, then that would be $2,500 of funding. So that's a third. So I guess we'd say about a third of the total costs will be printing costs. And then
Yeah.
shipping, I think I'm still going to lose a little on. So the Kickstarter
You got to
should
sign them,
calculate
right?
shipping. Yeah, I do. I ship them all here, and then I'm going to sign them. And so I'll have one lump shipping cost to be here, which basically I'll eat. And then I think most of the shipping to the actual individuals will be covered because I'm asking, them to pay when they check out on the pledges. So I'll probably come out a little in the hole on shipping, but I think my overall take home on this will be 40%, I would say, which is not terrible.
Which is better than a kick in the butt.
It's a lot better than negative a lot, which is usually what you look at when the book launch. You launch the book, you are in the hole until that book sells enough to get you out of the hole. And sometimes that can be expensive. This one wasn't particularly expensive, but it can be.
Yeah, and it wasn't. I mean, you did a little bit of research, but really you had it up and running in a week. I mean, you had all the content for describing it, and with all the different types of services and wares that you were offering. And then you did the video, and I gave you a little bit of advice on the video, but you had the video up, and everything went really quick.
It's not that much in the grand scheme of things. I mean, honestly, again, we took what worked. So I was like, hey, that person's 300% funded, that person's 400% funded. You look at the model, you're like, okay, I need a triumphant video, like Bill and Ted style, and then I need, some solid like visual stuff that's engaging. So I went with hand drawn. You could also probably produce that some other way, and then you want the story behind it. So it seems like a lot of people really like the story behind the creation. And again, a lot of this, you don't have to make it up if it's there. It's like, so I just put down what was there. It's like, here's the story. Here's how it was created. Here's some pictures of, me and the kids drawing these pictures and putting them together. And then you just have to capture that in a way. I mean, I write for a living, so I should be able to write an okay and compelling Kickstarter blurb. And you get all that down, and Kickstarter does make it pretty easy. As long as you know what you need in terms of, money, your shipping stuff, as long as you got kind of the ones and zeros figured out. And honestly, ChatGPT was pretty good about, hey, look for these 7 things. Like, oh, so I go dig up the details on those 7 things. Like, okay, printing costs, shipping costs, Kickstarter fees, advertising fees. I mean, put that in Excel, figure out kind of what it's got to cost. And then, I still cut it back a little because I wanted the funding number to be a little bit lower than 2,200 was actually my probably best target, but I'm willing to accept a little bit of risk to ensure it funds. And then,
if you go over your amount, you get it, you still get it, right?
You do. You get to go. You can go as high as you want. You can fund thousands of percent. And if I end up with my garage full of books and I'm at the post office trying to ship all these thousands of books, that's the first world problems right there. It's a good problem to have. Yeah, that's a good problem to have.
Fortunately, problems.
Exactly. It will solve itself. But again, that's probably not going to happen. I would say if I sell 100 books on the Kickstarter, 150 books, I'd call that a pretty good win. I mean, honestly, for a launch, that's pretty solid.
What are you at now? You're like 50 or 40 or something?
Yeah, something like that. I could pull up the details because some people bought. I've had a couple of people buy the classroom package. So I have
that's cool.
Yeah, one person did a large donation of 10. I've got 4 people that bought 5 each. So that's 30. Here we are doing public math. I've got another 36, 39.
That was a really good idea. That was a really good idea. Do you think they're teachers? Do you know who they are?
I know one of the people who did it. I don't know any of the others who did. And I think they're just people who would like a copy, but would like to do a donation and would like a school to kind of get their hands on this. I did contact a couple of friends who are teachers to ask if they'd be willing to receive the donations. And they're like, yeah, absolutely. My local library also does. So it's not hard to find recipients. And I think some people just like the idea, or maybe their kids are grown, maybe their kids are old now. They still like the idea of putting some books in schools. And I think it's a pretty good one.
Cool. No, I'm glad.
Yeah. And I took that classroom idea straight from a successful Kickstarter. I was like, oh, that's a great idea. Like, I mean, you don't want to just say buy 10 copies. Like, hey, you want to donate these copies to somebody else? Everybody wins, right? I mean, we sell books and the classroom gets books.
So we actually did that with Ben Owen had a inspirational memoir where he was a drug addict and then he got clean and then he started this nonprofit in Memphis to help drug addicts. And it was buy one for someone in a halfway house. And so
That's
that
awesome.
that was a big hit. Yeah. So people would buy one for themselves and then they would as you were checking out, they would say, would you like to buy one to donate to a halfway house? So that was actually really popular. And it was a really good idea.
No, that's smart. I think with the upcoming memoir, I might look at a similar option for ROTC programs and say like, hey, buy one for a local JROTC program. Which again, it's kind of a two birds with one stone. I mean, you're getting a good book in the hands of young people, but you're also helping somebody feel good and selling books. So we'll see though. I don't know. A kid's book is a weirdly easier to kickstart for me. I think a memoir is going to be a little weirder, but I look forward to talking to you about figuring out how to make this successful.
So did you notice any like internal organic Kickstarter marketing, or you think it's all your Facebook and your friends from whatever social media you're putting it on?
It's a good question. There is data. I have not dissected the data enough to know how much Kickstarter's algorithm boosts it. It does. At least AI suggests that the more successful a Kickstarter is, the more Kickstarter internally boosts its kind of success, and so success drives success. So they do encourage you to get like a pretty strong personal, like, hey man, every friend and family that might buy a copy, have them come out day one. And I had a pretty good show in there, and so I think that means that Kickstarter now pushes it a little bit, but I expect to see more during the last week. That is the other piece of data they say is that Kickstarter is super U-shaped. You get a lot in at front, you get a lot in at the back, and in the middle it kind of dribbles. And so I expect that the last 3 or 4 days, I will see a lot more push by Kickstarter to kind of make this thing go, especially if I'm already at that funding number. So
It's
there's
actually
more.
cool. So my son, who has a lot of experience in Kickstarter, said that they put out emails like, "Hey, new launches this week" or something like that. And so that's why your first 3 days are kind of like really usually really strong. And then the last 3 days, they say, "Hey, these are the ones that are ending soon," and so that's why you get the big push at the end.
And it makes sense. I mean, Kickstarter doesn't get paid unless the projects fund. And so there's a strong incentive for them to help you get this thing across the goal line. And the more you make, the more they make. And so in a lot of ways, it's a brilliant model for creators because you know that the platform has some incentive. You're not just giving them a flat fee and they don't care one way or the other. Like, no, they get paid when you get paid. And so to me, that's a pretty good model. It gives me confidence that they care, which is always nice.
For your next one, since we mentioned it, you because I don't think you have a digital book for this, do you? It doesn't really make much sense because it's a picture book.
So the kids book, there is an ebook because I mean, why not? It doesn't. I mean, but I think that it's not gonna. I don't like kids. I mean, to me, kids books are about putting books in front of kids, not more screen time. Like I can watch screen on anything. But no, the hardback is definitely like the bread and butter. Now there's an ebook. If you want an ebook, you get it for free with the hardback anyway. And so I just put it in as kind of a throw in case you're looking at it. But I don't know. I don't find kids books on digits to be engaging, but maybe other people are different.
Well, I just wanted to talk about the backside because I suggested use BookFunnel for
Mhm.
the digital, and then if you're going to do an audiobook too, it also distributes audiobooks as well, and that's pretty cheap. It's like a monthly fee depending on how many you think you're going to distribute. And then you're using BookVault for the physical books, right?
I am. And BookFunnel and BookVault have both been good. I have had some trouble with BookFunnel's integration. So I do my web store is all Wix, and Wix and BookVault are seamless. It is amazing. Somebody puts an order in on Wix, I see the order appear on BookVault. BookVault bills me, $8 to print it, and then Wix pays me, whatever the customer ended up paying for it. And so that's amazing. BookFunnel's a little trickier. We had some integration through a service called Zapier, which is like a I don't know what you'd call it exactly, but it's like a little programming hub that creates linkages between sites. But the problem is most of those are pay as you go, and I found them to be a little fragile. So I'm having some trouble getting the automation behind BookFunnel to work with Wix. But
It seems to me that BookFunnel has internal payments, that you can just put the link to the digital book if they want, and just goes straight over to BookFunnel, and then they would charge them from there.
And maybe you're right. That's probably what I need to do. I've been trying to run all my funding and store stuff through Wix, just because I want, frankly, one tax document at the end of the year. Like, all purchases here give me my list of what I spent and what I earned. The more sites I incorporate into that, the harder it is. But it might end up having to be that way, because BookFunnel is great for distribution. And you're right. When I want to give somebody a book, I just pull a BookFunnel and I send them this little code and they download it. You can do it with physical stuff, like almost like a QR codey thing. When we're done with this Kickstarter, I will just put every email address in, and BookFunnel will send them all over. So it's an awesome distribution service. I just need to figure out how to make it work with kind of the overall model, because well, yeah, that's it. It'll get there.
Do you for are you going to put it on Amazon at all after this whole thing's over?
Yeah, I mean, Amazon, you get obviously a smaller percentage royalties, but the reality is a lot of people buy on Amazon. A lot of people who won't buy direct from the store just buy from Amazon, and I won't turn down a sale. Also, Amazon has, as you know, I mean, Amazon reviews are like the backbone of, between Amazon and Goodreads. That's where you get people like seeing if your book is good or not. And so you've got to have Amazon reviews. And so it's going to be up on Amazon. If people choose to buy it there, it doesn't hurt my feelings, but it does mean that instead of $4 going on my pocket, about $30 goes in my pocket. So a little bit of a hit, but at the same time, it's a market share that I didn't have any other way. So can't really be upset.
Have you seen the prototype for Amazon yet?
It
looks different than BookVault, right?
So which prototype do you mean?
Do you mean hardback or the softback or whatever?
So yes, I got my proof from Amazon yesterday. I wish I had one now.
I thought that was BookVault, but that's the Amazon one.
That was the Amazon proof. So I always do my Amazon proof first, just because their software is easier to do proof through. And so you can actually click through. It's a lot better about detecting formatting problems. And so I clean formatted all the way through Amazon, and then I push over to BookVault. Their software is a little, frankly, just crappier. Like, you upload it, it's kind of slow. It's a little more unwieldy, but it's very polite because it's British. But then when you're done, it produces an excellent product. It's just their scrubbing software is worse. And so I usually do Amazon first. And I've gotten this is a thing we haven't talked about much, but I've gotten very sensitive about version control, because one thing that is a disaster with getting a book out there is version control. So it was what it was. I really struggled with this because I had a Word document that became a PDF, and then you'd run the PDF through Atticus to do the internal formatting, and then that would produce a PDF that I would use to format, to submit for Amazon and BookVault. But I was kind of sloppy, and so if you make a change in the first piece of text, getting it to tribble through all of that, and then once you hit Atticus, like, the formatting will sometimes shift. You'll lose a word from page to page, and then you have to create all of that again to get your PDF done. And it was actually kind of a snarl, and it took a lot of extra time. So this time, very conscious about version control. I did all of my formatting in one document. I got it to a final, and then I didn't touch anything on Amazon or BookVault until final edits on it were finished. Now there's always gonna be something, because that's just fortunately the nature of books, but it's at least 99% before I put anything into any of those systems. And it's been a lot cleaner.
So what about ISBNs and copyright?
So I use Bowker for ISBN. I don't know if there's
I think it's the only thing to use. I think
I don't know. I never know what's like the only way, and just the way that I did it. But I have, you have to do an ISBN per version. So in the case of the Whale and the Kraken, 3 different ISBNs, right? I have an ebook, a hardback, and a deluxe hardback. You buy your ISBNs for all 3. You run those through. It's pretty straightforward. But again, so it's weird. The order becomes important. So you need an image for the cover, for that and for this, but because that generates the barcode. So once you get your cover image, you can generate your barcode. Your barcode you have to hand back to the cover artist so he can put the barcode on the cover in the approved Amazon template. And so it becomes this weird, like, chicken and egg circle of, like, okay, line it all out, get all the little pieces, put them all together. I have submitted for
does the artist have to do a different one for BookVault? Is it in a different place?
So the same template In the books I've used, I'm careful on size for the same mistakes as last time, right? Last time I did a different size with the two publishers. And it was dumb. I had to reformat everything and it was just painful. And so I've used exactly the same, I think it's British Royal style, same. It's like 6.19 by 9.2 or something inches. And I've used the exact one. So the cover template, I mean, it's maybe like half a centimeter different around the edge, but it's unnoticeable, at least to me. And so same template saves the cover artist some pain because that is a thing you cannot do yourself, or at least you can't do well yourself. That cover template, it's got to be a Adobe Pro.
Not a graphic artist, don't do your cover.
Don't. Even if you think you can make the image look nice, you're not going to get the template specifications tight enough that Amazon won't filter scrub it out because the spine's got to be exactly this width, which is determined. This is another complexity. It's determined by your page count. So until your final edits are back, you don't know if you're 10 pages under, which reduces the width of your spine by a millimeter, which means your cover template's invalid. So you do have to process flow this whole thing out, or you end up having to rework it a lot, and then you piss your cover artist off, you piss your editor off. So you gotta just be sensitive to the order things happen in.
Did you get a copyright through Library of Congress too, or no?
So I've submitted a copyright for my last one. I have not submitted for The Whale and the Kraken yet. You get a basic copyright for free. By publishing the book, it is by default copyrighted. The question I'm bumping into is I need to figure out, do I need to copyright all the characters separately? Because if you want to someday, let's say you want to sell a t-shirt that has Jimmy the Whale on it. Well, anybody can sell a t-shirt with Jimmy the Whale on it if you just have your book copyright. And if you haven't copyrighted the character, you have no exclusivity in your ability to sell any merchandise related to it. And that's some weird, businessy side of writing stuff, but it's just a thing that you have to kind of.
You're conflating copyright and trademark.
It's possible I am. It's possible. Again, I'm no pro on all this stuff.
You have to trademark your characters, like Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. Those are all trademarked.
So I know that the site that I went through to do trademarking for my publication logo, which is it's relatively expensive. It's $250 a logo per category to submit all those. And I did that. And then, copywriting was Library of Congress. I think you're right. Again, some of this has been a minute. I haven't done it all for the new book yet, so I'm a little rusty.
It copyrights the content, which is all. The problem with the copyright, it's not a problem, but the thing is, it's cost so much money to challenge someone if they decided to copy your book that you're like, I sold 100 copies. Am I going to pay a lawyer $2,000 for some other guy who made, $30 off my book? Or
so you get into that with trademarks too, right? In terms of is this IP valuable enough to be worth $250? Is it worth, if somebody, like you said, if somebody on AliExpress creates Jimmy the Whale t-shirts, what am I really going to do about it? Right. If I don't have the resources to get a lawyer to challenge
it's just state protection, but then it becomes a pride and a 6-7. It becomes I had the same, my wife's an artist and she makes all her stuff is she makes pottery and she inlays it with precious metals and it's all handcrafted. And she has, 15, 20,000 followers on social media and she makes 15, 20 items a month. And she has a sale at the end of every month and they sell out in 5 minutes. And it's really on Etsy, right? And Etsy has the motivation sound. It's like ting, 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 ting. The first time I heard it, I was like, what's going on? It's people are buying my stuff.
It's amazing.
And then she found, or someone showed her, or she found her exact art on Alibaba or whatever it's called, right? And she was really upset because it's her original. She made it, and now people are, making, machine generated, AI generated stuff and selling it as, for a lot less than her. Yep. It was an emotional moment for her. And, I was at the end, I was like, it doesn't affect your bottom line for money. Now I know it affects you because it's yours. I get that. But it doesn't affect your bottom line because you have 20,000 followers and you can only sell at 15 every month. And so you're never going to sell enough to meet and everything's unique and changes. So you're never going to run out of sales for what you want, what people want, your handmade stuff. And the people who are looking for the $5, knockoffs because they like it aren't going to pay your prices for your hand stuff. So they're different clients. And so, I mean, it's hard because it's her intellectual property and she was really upset about it. But in the end, I think we came to terms with what she wanted to do. I mean, there wasn't anything she could do anyway, but we had to just like stop thinking about it because.
Yeah. So me, it gets back to like, stoicism, right? Like, hey, is this in the bin of things I can control or things I cannot? And you have no ability to fix it. And so I can already foresee that would be super frustrating. Like if the Whale of the Kraken became a thing and people loved it and it became, you can bet your butt there's going to be people making Whale of the Kraken t-shirts and stuffed animals and everything else. They're going to be all over everywhere. And there's not a thing you could do about it. You could try to police all that up, but
then where are you putting your time?
Exactly. And where do you, I think you just have to sell the genuine stuff yourself, just like you are with you're talking about with your wife, right? Like you sell your stuff. The people that are interested will buy it from you. You're probably going to do fine. But you think Matt Groening doesn't see lots of Simpsons stuff? Like, I mean, there's so much Simpsons ripoff stuff in the last 30 years that, I mean, he's probably lost millions and millions and millions of dollars, but
well, that's the question. Did he lose it, or they were selling it at such a low price point that he was like, whatever.
That's true. I mean, every person who's bought a bootleg concept
anyway. It's just like the people who buy stuff in Disney World. Like those people are going to buy it at Disney World. They want the original stuff, but you could buy a knockoff somewhere in South Korea or something.
I mean, I got a bootleg Metallica t-shirt the first time I went to a Metallica concert back in like 93 because I was poor and it's like, well, $10 t-shirt or a $30 t-shirt, like 10 wins every time. But is that the wrong answer? I'm sure it is. And but you can't do anything about it anyway.
Like it's gonna happen. It's a rich people problem.
That's right. If people love your stuff so much that they're bootlegging it and people are buying it in droves, then maybe you're okay. Maybe you're just fine. You don't worry about that.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I'm the same way. Oh, the other thing I wanted to bring up is like Amazon has a huge problem with people pirating successful self-published books, even if they are copyrighted. First of all, it's really hard to find, someone has to actually tell you like, hey, this guy copied your thing or whatever, because there's, especially in the romance department where people are, there's 1,000 a day coming out and they change the title and they change the cover and everything inside is exactly the same. So the problem becomes sometimes, you may say, hey, you guys need to cut this out. This is my book. And then they tell Amazon first that you copied them.
Sure.
And now there's an investigation and they take both books off and no one makes anything.
Yep.
And that can last. I've seen complaints that it'll last 6 months, a year, where you're not making any money off your book while that's happening. And ideally he isn't either, unless you publish it again under another name and another cover and no one knew about it.
But the sorts of people who are going to do that sort of like unscrupulousness, like you can't really beat it. It's unfortunate, but you can't win. So just do your best. Hope that it doesn't happen and hope that it's not too terrible if it does. And at a certain point, one thing that's nice is like, I don't think if somebody copied it was what it was. I mean, maybe it's different. It's not a romance novel, but if they did and they posted it, well, you still got to generate enough steam with like reviews and everything else that you're going to turn into the one that they would buy. And so I guess you hope as the original creator, you can stay ahead of that curve and like, well, okay, this is the original person. This is it, and be successful that way. I don't know.
Well, I mean, the memoir is going to be different. I mean, memoir is super easy to prove it's you, right?
Hopefully.
But when you write the fiction, though, there's so many similar plots and stuff like that sometimes you'll read a book and it's like, this plot's the same as that other book, but it's got like different characters and a different setting and everything like that, and no one's gonna fight that. But it's when they don't even try, right? They just like, oh, this is they copy the exact content in there and change the name of the book or something like that.
Yeah.
That's what really pisses off the people. I mean, there's a lot of people trying to take the easy way out with AI, especially. But there was another article not too long ago where this woman had a book deal, and she made like 50 fake emails and went into Goodreads and all her competitors and said, "This is trash. You know, this book is so much better." She was like talking up her book and
Yep.
trashing all her competitors. And then they figured it out. It was her. And then she lost her book deal, and she was blackballed and everything else. But like, she already had a book deal. All she had to do was shut up.
I I mean, I think people have a hard time. I mean, this is like just normal people thing. This isn't anything specific to authors, but you know the deal. We can all get our egos wrapped up in these situations that they got no business being wrapped up in. And I think we can all sometimes walk ourselves down roads that get you into this place where you're like, what am I doing right now? Am I writing negative reviews about somebody else's book under a fake name? And that lady probably didn't start that overnight. She just probably ended up there, and you're like, it's kind of sad on the one hand, but on the other, you're like, well, she's kind of screwed that one up, man.
Through a whiskey bottle, and she's like, ah.
I mean, in our former profession, we all know plenty of dudes who've kind of ended up on that downward spiral. You're like, probably not where you wanted your life to end up, but sometimes people just find themselves there, I guess.
It's unfortunate. What if I took her book and published her book when they wouldn't buy anymore? Oh crap, I'm selling a lot. Reads it.
It's rough, man. But again, this is like the super, super dirty side of the business. If you're successful enough that becomes a problem, I guess, one day in years, me and you can sit on this show, or you and I can sit in the show, and we could talk about how to solve those problems when you're like the next tier writer that has right now don't have enough exposure for that to even be a drop in the bucket problem. So maybe we'll get there someday.
Yeah. Well, good luck on your Kickstarter. I'm looking forward to seeing it like a month from now and see where you're at. That'd be great.
No, thanks, man. It's got 20 days left. I think it's going to fund. And the question then becomes, like, how do you drive, I guess, after funding stuff? Like, I kind of want to, order a set of vinyl stickers and like do those as throw-ins. Like, hey, it's awesome. We made this. You want to go and do this? And I want to get that deluxe edition rolled out to kind of show it off a little, because it's weird. It's a lot more exciting than a book launch, if that makes sense. And maybe a book launch is more exciting if you know how to do it better. But Kickstarter gives you this platform where you can post an update every day, and you can show the work you're doing. You can show all the stuff that has kind of come together. I imagine if I were smarter, you could link it to, I'm going to try and create a TikTok video, like reading a chapter, and then link that into one of the updates to kind of reading the first chapter. I'm going to see if we can make this circle work.
That's really
don't know. I don't know, but I feel that Kickstarter gives you this energy that's pretty cool. Like it's people get updates, they get excited, they like the stuff, they like the add-ons, and I kind of like it. And the question is, is it either cheesy or is it gonna work? And I don't know yet, but it feels good so far.
Yeah, and I think your video was really good. My wife, I showed my wife, was like, "What do you think?" She's like, I mean, is it always so unprofessionally done? I was like, whoa, what do you mean by that? And he's like, well, it's got this gray background, and he's just talking. And I was like, well, Kickstarter is about authenticity. I mean, I guess there's some people that are out there paying for professional, getting it all right and editing and stuff. But most of the people who come on Kickstarter want authentic things from authentic content creators, for lack of a better word, whether it's a book or a song or a game or whatever. And they want to know that people are enthusiastic about it, and the stories behind it. And that's why they support these Kickstarter things. That's the whole purpose. It's not another Amazon, Alibaba. You're not just sell. You're selling your creation, and you have a vested interest in other people liking it. And that's what the attraction of Kickstarter is.
No, I completely agree. I think that it's like Etsy, right? When I want something kind of, one-off or handcrafted, I don't go to Amazon, I go to Etsy. Now, is some of the stuff fake on Etsy? I'm sure it is, but there's still a level of engagement with the creator on that platform that is really positive, and I enjoy. And I think Kickstarter is the same. Like you said, you get to be part of the process. So now the people following the updates, they're seeing me go through the proof, and I'm like, hey, see, look, these are the problems that we're finding. We're finding the problems and we're fixing them. And so it pulls people in. I think it makes them want to, know you. Like, where did this come from? Why is this a story? Who are you? Like, you're real people with real kids, and they're putting this together. And I think that's engaging. And to be honest, like, that video is just me with CapCut sitting there and like, how do I make a video? And it came out okay, but it's not professional grade stuff. And
Right.
I guess, should it be? Right. I mean, it's just
No,
me.
I liked it. I thought it was good. Especially when you added the wall in the beginning. I thought that was perfect.
I've had tons of feedback on that wall. People are like, oh, I know that wall. That's a great wall. I can't believe you made a story based on that thing. But it's good, especially locally. It really resonates because people drive past that wall all the time. And you're like, wow, well, what is up with the whale and the Kraken?
I never noticed the Kraken. But I was driving. No one like pointed it out to me. I'm driving. I just saw
got five kids in the van. They notice. And they're like, whale and the Kraken. And they're like, okay, let's argue about it for a while. Friends, enemies, frenemies, we're not sure. But now we know. It's solved.
Yeah, that's good. I guess the other topic I started, we can go back to, and we've talked about this a little bit before, about the different kinds of memoirs. Like you wrote a memoir, which is a specific part of your life because you wanted to talk about the war in Iraq and your experience and how it was different than a lot of the articles and books and movies that you'd seen, and that's why you wrote it. But I get a lot, like probably 80% of the people that come to me want help writing it's not it's a memoir, but it's their biography. It's like
life story,
birth to present day. And a lot of them are older. So it's birth to, it's 0 to 75 years old sometimes. And, and I'm just like, okay. And they're like, yeah, and I want to get it published. And I'm just like, so the reality, and if we're talking just the vets right now, but the reality is true for even civilian ones. The military memoir is like, it's stacked out. Like for the last 25 years, people have been coming out of the Army and writing their memoir about everything they did in the war and before the war and stuff like that. So there's just not a lot of people running around in the biography book, in the bookstore, in the memoir section going like, where's my next memoir I want to read? Yep. Most people are, they're seeing it, something that resonates with them on social media because someone paid for some advertising dollars. And they're like, huh, that's an interesting story. I hadn't really thought about that. Or it's a special ops guy that was in a specific unit or was in a specific, engagement, whether it was the, Operation Eagle Claw or, the Tora Bora or something like that. And those are the ones that people pick up usually. But your normal, like I had a guy write a book on, he had 6 years in the Marines, or that he wrote about his 6 years in the Marines and basic training. And, and he did go to Iraq for a little bit, but it's just like, okay, who's reading this, because if you're going to write a couple chapters on basic training, are the people, if it's for the military, we all went to basic training. I didn't go to Marine basic training, but I went to Army basic training, and there's some similarities there. And I'm not sure that I'm excited about that. And so you just kind of gotta, are you going to make a lot of money? Like the guy we had last time, Alabama, he pushed his book out there and he sold, he's probably sold like 100 copies or something like that, which is great. I just don't think most memoirs are going to do that. And I just got to give reality checks to, if you're going to write your whole life story, most of the time that's just for your family and friends. But if you're going to take a chunk with a specific purpose of a teaching point to somebody and say, if you're interested in the Iraq war and this part of the Iraq war, then this book's for you. And this is the same way with Eat, Pray, Love. She wrote like 4 memoirs. Eat, Pray, Love's only a year and a half long. She gets divorced, then she goes to Italy and eats a lot and gets fat. Then she goes to she goes, I forget where she went next, and she, fell in love, and then she went somewhere else, or she went somewhere else and learned how to pray. I think she went to India or something, and then she went somewhere else, like Thailand or something, and she met her next husband, and that's why it's called Eat, Pray, Love. And she spent like 6 months in each place, and that was just a part of her life after her divorce, and then meeting the next love of her life, and that was it. But then she wrote another memoir about the next 2 years, after she divorced her next husband. And so she's written like 3 memoirs, and you can do that. But those are short stories with specific points to them, addressed to a specific audience that is lost, just got divorced, doesn't know what to do, wants to explore the world, whatever. There's a lot of people that would love those books. And so that's what you're applying to. But if she had written one book about her whole life that had that 18 months in there, like in 3 chapters, I don't think it would be as appealing to everyone, because they'd be like, okay, yeah, I went to high school here, and then I went to college, and I met a guy there, and then I did this and that, then I did this, and then I did this, and then I did this, without like an inspirational direction to it, where, hey, you can change your life, you can come back from loss or being alone, or it's not a bad thing to be alone. And that, if that's your message, then you tell that part of your life that affects that, because maybe when you were growing up until you got out of college, when you were 24, you didn't have that problem. So do I need to know anything between when you were 10 and 24? Maybe it doesn't. If it doesn't apply to that message, I probably don't. And it's going to take away from your readership, because readers are always selfish. They want something out of your book. And if you're not giving them for the first 10 chapters, because I'm hearing about what happened to you from 10 to 24, then you're going to lose me. I'm not going to recommend the book.
Are you Bill Clinton? Are you Barack Obama?
Exactly.
Are you big enough that people just want to know? The answer for basically all of us is no, we are not, and nobody cares. I would say that the only way that I think you can pull that off, and you see occasionally books, the one that's popping into my head is one called "Shit My Dad Said," which is it's an every person book, but it's just written in such a way that you're like, I don't know, it's got this relatability that you could just like, it's just funny, right? I mean, it's kind of a cheesy book. There's not a lot of depth to it, but it's just engaging because you got this dad character, and everybody can kind of relate to this dad character, but he's also a little like hyperbolic for a dad character, but it just works. And you can pull that off sometimes. And in a way, that's what Eat, Pray, Love, I think, is doing, is where the lady is like, this is kind of an every person story. She's just writing it in such a way that's engaging to pull people in and make it work. But honestly, if you don't have one of those two things, you're not like kind of, really good at capturing people's imaginations with this normal kind of stuff, or you're not just like so important that people just want to read about you anyway, then like you said, just cool, write it. Just know that it's never going to be a smash success. Like honestly, like my first memoir is never going to be a New York Times bestseller. It won't. It's not going to be. And honestly, it's not really designed to be. It's designed to appeal to a target audience. It's designed to kind of capture my memories about the experience in, I hope, an engaging way. And the next memoir is going to be similar. Like I have this vision of capturing the whole GWAT, through the life of a soldier, so you can really feel that out, so that people someday will be like, what was it like to go from being shitty druggy to guy in the GWAT, and then, changing and doing a whole career about it. But is that ever going to be a bestseller? It's not. If I wanted to be a bestseller, I should write serial fiction. Right? I should write good, engaging serial fiction, because that shit sells like hotcakes. But just remember why you want to write, and then, do your best to write within that genre. And then, to your point, scope it down to keep it interesting, right? Nobody cares where I went to high school. I would sell it to probably the 50 people I went to high school with, and that would be the end of it. Like everybody else doesn't give a shit. So why is what you're saying interesting? I mean, I know you don't like basic training stories, so I'm curious to see how you feel about, there's like a chapter, I think there's one chapter in basic training. I'm curious to see how you feel about my basic training story, just because the whole point of the story is like, how the hell do you adapt from this to this? Is it engaging?
I think that there's something to be said that there's not a lot of well-written enlisted books that are like junior enlisted, like someone who got out at no more than E5 or E6. The only ones that I've ever read are I've read some that are complaining about something, some injustice. Okay.
Sure. The yellow
And
bird, right? There's always the yellow bird.
but Yellowbird's like fiction, isn't
I'm
it?
not a fan. I
Yeah.
don't know if it's fiction or
Yeah.
not. I get the impression it's like
It's really
typical
whiny.
fan fiction.
It was really whiny. I was forced to read it when I did my thesis for my book. They're like, "Oh, what are you reading to research this?" I was like, "I lived it."
I want to research
What
anything.
research do I need to do? Well, you should read this. So gave me a list, and I read that, and I read the other one where the guy came back and went to a football game and like got a date with the cheerleader or something.
I don't remember that one.
And they actually made a movie of it too. And so both of them were really whiny. And I'm like, this is not a comp title for my book. I don't know why you made me read this. First of all, the guy did 4 years as an enlisted dude with a college education, which all that's dumb. I'm not sure why he came in with a college education to go serve as an enlisted guy and then whine about it, that he was smarter than everyone that was in charge of him, because he wasn't, because these guys had the experience and he just acted like he thought he was smarter, but he didn't really know what he was doing. And then, yeah, so they're not my comp titles. I don't, maybe they're my anti-comp titles. I want to write a whiny book.
I don't want to write this story. Dude, it's funny because what you're describing is like almost the opposite of what I write. Like I was the college guy that enlisted and did 4 years as an enlisted guy. And I did think I was smarter than everyone. But the whole point of the book is to realize that like, nope, I was actually real dumb. And you look around and you're like, this system actually, you look around, you're like, I didn't know shit about anything. But that conflict of like smug college kid crashing into army and then eventually figuring out like, okay, there's some shit that makes sense here. I don't know. I hope that's a compelling story, but I agree that I do not find well, I'm smarter than anyone here. I know everything. I know how to do it. Nobody else does. It doesn't make for good reading to somebody who was in the army, because we've all seen those people who are like, you're an idiot. Stop. You don't know what you're talking about. But we'll see. We'll see.
I had 1 year of college when I came in, and all they did, they just called me college. That was my name. I was like, I literally had 1 year. I flunked out after 1 year. Like, why would you even call me college? It makes no sense.
But see, that right there, to me, that's the part of the story that is the most fun to capture, is like when you stumble into the army and you get into lower enlisted life, your initial reaction is like, where the fuck did these people come from? Like, what rock did they scrape and pick up to find all of these people around me? But then as you get into it, you realize there's actually a lot of goodness there. There's just a lot of like direct crudity that it's hard to wrap your head around at first. And I really want to bring that to life. Like, to me, that magic of the secret sauce of being a private is like, it's, 2 parts shit and 1 part shine. And together you get this kind of awesome community of like, how the fuck does this work? And I want to capture that. But a lot of times,
I don't know how the guy who did Stripes got it so right.
He did. He nailed it, right? He just nailed it.
There's always there's one of each of those guys in every freaking platoon in basic training.
Yep. And you got your psycho, and you got your token fat guy, and you got it's just great. You even have your Bill Murray, right? It's
yeah. And so yes. I had the best battle buddy. His name was Ralph. And his last name started with an S, because that's why we were bunk buddies, because there's all alphabetical order, right?
Right next to each other. Yep.
And in the end, I was like the platoon leader or platoon guide or whatever it's called. And we had one of those psycho guys that were like coming to the near the end of AIT, and he sneaks out. He gets a pizza, some smokes, whatever. It's all hidden. I don't know how long the pizza's been there. It's all hidden in his wall locker. Someone catches him sneaking a piece of like 5-day-old pizza in there, and he calls him out, and there's a scuffle, and I walk up and I'm like, what are you doing, man? Get rid of all of it. He's like, you're not the boss here. It's like, well, actually, I am.
You're in the army. It's actually real clear who your boss is.
And so he started. I'd only been in one fight in my whole life, and I lost. And so now I'm here, standing up to this guy who's obviously a psycho. He's like carved in his face. He's just crazy. And I'm like, dude, get rid of this stuff. Everyone's going to get in trouble. We're almost freaking graduated. What is your freaking problem? And he bowed up to me and got real close. And I just stood there with my hands down like an idiot. And my bunkmate was a scrapper. And his fist just came right past my ear and went bam and knocked that guy out. and, and, and then he went. We had to call the freaking the drill sergeant just because he was knocked on his ass. We had to get him some help, and then he reported it. And they brought him there. He's like, "What happened?" He's like, "He had a fucking pizza. He had this in his locker." He's like, yeah. But who started the fight? I was like, "What fight?" And they're like, "Yeah." I was like, "I don't know. How can you not?" I was standing right in front of him talking to him, and then he was on the ground. That's all I know. He's like, "Come on." I was like, "I'm serious." Like a fucking fist came from behind me. I don't know.
Those stories, to me, those stories do make for a compelling story. If you can capture them right, if you can bring the reader in to this like insane world, like 99% of people do not experience this. And the 1% of people who experience it, just like we're doing now, I think enjoy reliving it a little bit. Like, what the fuck? Because it's kind of fun to look back on. And so if you can really capture that and like, get that blood on the page and pull the person into it, my hope is that you can actually make that a pretty good story. But you know what? You're going to be reading my manuscript soon, so you can tell me if I made it a compelling story or not. But I'm
starting to read it today. My plan is I'm trying to finish it before the first week of December.
There's too much in part one. Like there is too much in part one, and I know this. So I look forward to hearing what you would cut to make the story flow to get to part two, which is like wartime. Part two and part three is all the war. Part one is everything leading up to September 11th and through like the September 11th deployment, but it's like not that worry. And so how do you communicate that? And I think probably 70% of what's there now. If I had to guess, I would guess that probably like half a dozen scenes got to go. But I look forward to seeing what resonates and what doesn't to tell the story we're telling right now. Like, when do you tell a story about the party where the chick starts stripping and you're just like, we gotta get the fuck out of here, and you leave and everybody's drunk as fuck, and like, okay, when is that value added, and when is it like, okay, you already got that clear, I get it, they're fucked up. So I don't know. I look forward to it.
I get like a lot of people say, well, you're a writer, when are you going to write your story? I was like, I've written enough biographies and memoirs to know that I don't think there's a audience for mine. Maybe not for my whole story. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what the message would be, but I did live literally half my career was before 9/11 and half was after. But all of it was special ops, which I know is completely different than the regular Army. I don't know that, but I assume from the stories I've heard that it is very significantly different than the regular Army. So I have no idea what the regular Army's like sometimes. I mean, I've read a lot of bios about it, and I'm like, I didn't have that problem. But
I did 9 regular Army. I did 9 regular Army and 14 soft. So I got the split. But now, one thing I would love, this is like future us. I would love, when I'm going to write, I got to finish this trilogy, and then I want to write a collection of short stories called Over a Beer. And I want it to be a collection of one-off stories from other dudes from the beginning, middle, and end of the GWAT. So you can see what everybody else was doing while you're following this one dude's account. Now, like, what about the guy who was in Africa? What about the guy who was flying Blackhawks? I would love to get one of your GWAT stories, because everybody's got at least a couple of really like, what the fuck, this was amazing stories. Just a couple, and like throw those on paper in there.
They're just like your Iraq thing. They're not crazy like war stories. Like, 'cause people write those short stories all the time. They get published in magazines and books and stuff. Tora Bora, whatever the last campaign was, Anaconda, whatever. But my stories are just like, what were they thinking? Why? How did we get to this depravity, or this like where the units are fighting over like Gatorade in the chow hall? I'm like, what are we doing? Yeah. Why do we even have Gatorade? Dump all the Gatorade. That solves the problem. Cut the baby in half. No one gets Gatorade.
But that's what Tim O'Brien does really, really well, is he captures war, all of the facets of war. And that is, I'm not Tim O'Brien, but one of the things I aspire to do is to capture the good, the bad, and the ugly of war. Like, here's some awesome heroic shit. Here's some moments of awesomeness. Here's some really terrible, heartrending shit. But then there's also a lot of just like, what the fuck? And war is all of that. And so a book that captures it should capture all of those things. Like, I had a buddy who found the city of the midgets in Iraq. Like he was out there doing his thing, and somehow Saddam had like put all the midgets in one place, and he thought they were kids or something, and he found it. It's like it was this weird ass story of like, what the fuck?
That's really weird, because I was running, I was kind of working in charge of, or at least a advisor on drone operations.
Mhm.
And we had a drone, and we had to have the drone like 24-hour eyes on. If there was, a storm, or one of the drones was late and you had a lapse, then you had to start over, and they had to look at it for 24 hours to make sure no women or children were there. And we
Right.
did it, and they knew there was a bad guy in there. And the guy in charge who was making the decision was like, he's like, "Hey, we saw some kids come out." I was like, "How do we know they were kids?" He's like, "Well, what do you mean?" He's like, "But it could be midgets." And at the time, I was like, "What is this guy talking about?" I didn't know there was a city of midgets that they recruited from.
So this is again a guy's war story, and you never. I don't have any reason to doubt the guy, but there's a lot of stories out there, and you're never sure what's real, what's not. But I'm happy to record all that. Give me your story. Tell me the story that you remember. If it's a fucking mass brawl over Gatorade, that's not unrealistic. There's shit like I remember one guy telling me that he saw a truck disappear into 2 trails of flames, like in Back to the Future, but it fucking vanished. And he's like, the truck vanished, man. Like the armored truck is gone. You're like, sometimes you just see weird shit. I love capturing that stuff. I just love putting it all down because to me that's the
I could see that being a series, like crazy stories from the from the GWAT or something like that.
I want it to be a collection of short stories, and it could be a series too. It could be a series of Substack posts. Maybe it's Substack posts that get published into a series. But I've started informally collecting them, and I'm going to start putting all those together, and then it's going to eventually turn into a project.
I've done a lot of interviews too with people. This one guy was a Green Beret scuba guy, and he was tasked to be the liaison to the SEAL scuba. No, the SEAL scuba and Halo thing they were doing over there.
Mhm.
And he's just like, he had like, all right, dude, we need some like SOPs, and we need some, we can't just be like willy dilly doing stuff here.
Yeah, there's so many stories, man. And there's so many of them are really good.
This was like back in the 80s, or like early 80s or something like that, right after Eagle Claw.
It's awesome. But yeah, there's endless things to write, right? There's always more projects, but we'll be working on these couple of things now, and then we'll finish these up and we'll move on to the next ones, and we'll see where they go. And maybe someday somebody will dial into this thing and ask us questions about all this stuff and want advice. But for the moment, hey man, we're just rolling with 2 dudes talking.
All right, man. I guess we can end this right now. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Join us next week, same time, 4:00 Central, 5:00 Eastern, and have a great Thanksgiving.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks, Randy. I appreciate it, man. Good times. See you later, buddy.
Yeah.